This week's article of the week, Amelia Earhart's last chapter was as heroic castaway. Of course, our first step is to listen to the article. Then you need to go back on your own, reread and annotate. And notice it says right here, you need to number the paragraphs. You might want to go ahead and do that now so you don't forget, because that is part of your annotation score. You're going to answer all the questions in the margins, underline the subheading, and create a question. Okay. Answer the questions using text evidence to support your responses. Remember, your annotations are part of your score. Answer the questions carefully in complete sentences. Okay? There's the rubric. Annotations are worth 40, question responses plus evidence 50, and complete sentences 10. So here we go. Amelia Earhart's last chapter as heroic castaway. And we will go back and take a look at, CNN recently did a video clip about the research that's going on about the bones that were found on the island belonging to Amelia Earhart. All right. You'll notice this little inset box, story highlights. It kind of gives you a little bit of an overview of what you're going to read about. Skeleton of castaway found in 1940 may belong to Earhart. She may have survived months on an island in the, and notice it got cut off, Pacific. All right. There's an entire chapter in Amelia Earhart's life that history ignores, says new research. The legendary American pilot died as a castaway, not in a plane crash. Earhart was the first woman to fly across the Atlantic. Her plane crashed into the Pacific Ocean while she attempted to circle the Earth. It was always assumed Earhart died in the crash and that her remains were lost to the deep waters. But now, the International Group for Historic Aircraft Recovery, TCAR, reveals a new theory. The skeleton of a castaway found on the island of Nikomoro, Kiribati, in 1940 may belong to Earhart. TCAR has been trying to prove the bones belong to the American pilot since 1998. Until we start investigating the skeleton, we found that what history knew was that Amelia Earhart died on July 2nd, 1937 in a plane crash. But there's an entire final chapter of Earhart's life that people don't know about. She spent days, maybe months, heroically struggling to survive as a castaway, Rick Gillespie, TCAR's executive director, told CNN. The human remains were initially dismissed by British authorities who thought the bones belonged to a male, but then the TCAR team recovered the original files and sent them to anthropologist Richard Jantz, who made a startling discovery. Jantz noticed something peculiar when updating the information about the bone measurements. The skeleton had forearms that were considerably large for a European woman. He joined forces with forensic imaging specialist Jeff Glickman. Analyzing a historic photo of Earhart where her bare arms are fully visible, they found Earhart's forearms were virtually identical to the castaways. Notice there's a subheading here. She called for help. Don't forget you're supposed to turn this into a question and then provide an answer after you read this section. In August, the TCAR team revealed Earhart made more than 100 radio transmissions calling for help between July 2nd and July 6th of 1937, which rules out the possibility of her plane crashing. The airplane's radio would not have worked if the engine was not running. There are historical documents that prove official airlines received radio calls for help in 1937. If we look at the press of the time, people believed she was still alive. It was only when planes were sent to fly over the islands where the distress signals were coming from and no plane was seen that the searches shifted towards the ocean, Gillespie told CNN. TCAR believes no plane was seen because by the time the rescue planes were sent out, Earhart's plane would have been dragged back into the ocean by the waves. But she lived and died on that island for a while, Gillespie said. Since the late 90s, Gillespie has organized 3 rescue archaeological expeditions to Nicamaru to explore the area where the bones were found. We found records of bonfires being lit in the area where the bones were found. Based on the fish bones and bird bones found in the area, Earhart survived weeks, maybe even months, on that island, Gillespie said. While there is no drinkable water in the island, Gillespie believes Earhart gathered water from tree leaves and rain. No other human remains were found in the area, meaning Earhart's navigator, Frederick J. Noonan, would have died soon after the crash and been washed away by the ocean. We speculate Noonan died early on as she reported him being injured in the initial distress calls, said Gillespie. We believe she survived heroically and alone for a period of time in terrible circumstances. History needs to tell her story right, he added. Again, go back and I want you to look at the margin annotations and make sure you answer all of those. And then you need to go to our questions. Now, when we did this last time, folks lost some points because they didn't use complete sentences. You need to answer each of these in a complete sentence. Make sure you restate the question and the answer, and then provide the paragraph number. And again, this is not due until Friday, so please make sure you take your time. Take your time, okay? You'll notice that question number 5 is something where you need to use the template that I've posted on Canvas, all right? The template shows you how to start each one of your sentences, so make sure you use that as you write your entry here. It says, explain and support the claim that Amelia Earhart is heroic, as stated in the title of the article. Okay? Cite evidence from the text to support your response. And then your paragraph numbers that you use to write your response. All right? Okay. The last one, you do need to show your math work here. You're determining the average speed in miles per hour. So use your math skills here. Yes, it's a math word problem, and you need to show your work. You can't just give an answer here. Okay, you need to show your work.